Hi everyone. Yesterday I got the key by watching Twitch streams of Valorant for participate in the closed beta. Now everything you see is from the closed beta. All the footage that you see here is me playing. But the thing is that I want to talk about is actually how this game is like for a non-CSGO player or a very casual first-person shooter player who is not good in really at playing this type of games. I mean, very below average player or average player playing this type of game. Now, this is definitely a completely different first-person shooter game compared to those which I actually played before. And this includes Battlefield, Call of Duty, multiplayer in Destiny, for example, Destiny 1 and 2, and similar games. Now, Valorant is designed to be a very strategic gameplay, relatively slow pace compared to other shooters. And here in this game, other games that I play, if you die, you don't spawn. For example, you play 5 versus 5, so if you die, only 4 players of your team are left to fight against which other enemy players are actually playing, which means that your presence is very important. Aside from that, there's also roles here, classes, kind of. So, for example, if you are a healer and you are healing, and you also have a very revive capability as your ultimate, you probably want to play differently in order to make sure you can revive one of your teammates. You position yourself in a certain location. All of those things are very important in this type of game because if you die or any of your other teammates die, they they are out of the game basically, unless of course they are revived. This is something, of course, one of the characters can do. Now, this game is quite similar to Overwatch in a way where you have different heroes, in this case agents, and each one has its own unique capabilities. And the good thing about it is that it's really fun to watch how teams use different type of agent compositions in order to try to surprise and outrun their enemies and win a match. On the other hand, it's also really interesting to see how the other team is actually trying to counter the enemy team in order to prevent them use their abilities in order to gain advantage. Now, one of the most significant things in this game for me was the footsteps. Talking about footsteps, somebody's making noise out in the second floor. So the thing is that if you regularly move, you make sound, and this is a very significant loud sound of footsteps that you move around. But if you press the shift button, it actually mute the footsteps. So one thing you can do is if you want to flank or surprise your enemy, or of course don't let him know that you are in a certain location, you need to press the shift button in order to move silently and surprise your enemy. Now for me it was quite weird because I was expecting like, okay, let's press shift and start running, right? Run and gun. Oh no, you don't do this in this game. Shift actually slows you down. So this is exactly the opposite of what you do in many other first-person shooters where shift is actually used to accelerate your movement rather than decelerate it. And it's worse because if you are detected, enemy can hear your footsteps. There are plenty of things in order to slow you down, to block you, or to make sure they position yourself to kill you or shoot you through the wall. There are so many ways that you can, especially in the close quarter environments. This is just a really big mistake if you don't control your movement carefully and make sure you're not being heard by the enemy. Now, winning 1 versus 1 engagements is very important in this game. Why? Because you're only 5 players. Sometimes you are spread around. If you are flanking, you go alone probably, but you find yourself a lot in a 1 versus 1 situations. The map is not large, but it has enough space that you will find yourself actually facing someone, at least one player, which you need to take down. In games like Battlefield, you can actually find yourself in a lot of situations, especially in a 32 and 64 players map, where other players are fighting and you just engage in the fight and nobody notices you and you can get many kills and feel so great about yourself, like you're a top-notch player. In this game, it's not like that. I mean, it can happen, but it rarely happens. So for example, even if you are able to surprise a few players, if they are above average player, they will notice you and they will take you down almost immediately. And of course, you have limited amount of ammo, so if you waste it, you're gonna find yourself in a quite a uncomfortable situation, right? So the important here is to make sure you are taking advantage of every strategic option that you have against another player or players that you are fighting against. So being exposed here is really dangerous. Why? Because you have snipers and people are those who are actually good at this game. They have very, very good accurate shooting. This means that you won't find people like spraying and missing shots like you seen tons in Battlefield. You can die here very, very quickly. That's why a few of the most important things that I needed to learn is how to close angles, make sure that I'm not exposing myself completely, and I'm learning how to aim properly to take headshots, because if I'm going to shoot at the body or worse the legs, I'm going to do less damage. And the thing here is, if I'm fighting against more than one player, I need to deal as much damage as possible very quickly, and headshot is the best way to do it, of course. Another important thing is actually knowing the map. And it's a small map, and you need to know all the hiding places that enemies might position themselves ahead of time before you actually enter a specific zone. Now, of course, you have different tools in order to help you with this, because if not, you're going to be very exposed. But the thing is that I've seen many players shooting me on the spot by just entering a zone without any smoke or anything, and they knew exactly where I was actually standing, or they knew where there's a chance that I'll be standing, and just pre-shoot at this location and took me immediately. I was so surprised when I saw that. Now, this is also very important to always change location. You have to be very unpredictable in this game. I've seen many people flanking in different locations and surprising the entire team, or getting into a smoke and getting out and surprising the team as well, where they're least expected to do so. And this is actually the time where people were actually winning battles and helping their team to win the round. Now, this happened to me several times, where I actually do a few things. First, I surprised my enemy from the back, which is really cool. I just saw the back and just shot and got a kill. The second thing, I was able to position myself in a certain position where a flanking enemy didn't notice that I was actually there, and could easily take them down very, very quickly. Now, one of the most important thing here, probably the most important one, is communication with your teammates. Now, this game is all about getting information, intel about where the enemy is located, and other type of information that can help you combat the enemy and gain an advantage in the battlefield. Now, when I played, most of the time people muted their voice, and of course the other teammates, because they didn't want to hear them. Why? And it happens to me quite a lot, is because many players are actually toxic and say kind of they're vocally aggressive, let's say it like that. So many players decided that the best for them to enjoy the game is not actually communicating with the other players. Now, although this can make the game for them more fun to play, it's very counterproductive in this type of game, where communication is the key for success. Now, when you go rank, and there'll be a rank mode in this game later on after the beta, if you're not going to communicate, you're probably going to find yourself losing, and because of this you won't be able to progress. And if you get to a higher level, like in Overwatch, you see that the higher level you get, the more people know that understand the importance of team communication. But if you don't do this, you actually prevent yourself from progressing, and you never get to the point you're in actually playing with high ranked players where the communication is probably by default active. This is another thing is that in this type of games, you're better off playing with friends and even constant players, but you play regularly because as you play with other players, you understand each other's advantages, weaknesses. You learn better how to communicate with each other, so you can get better results in games as you play as you go along. Now I have the same thing with Overwatch, and I was stuck for a long time in relatively low ranks because of those lack of communication and because I wasn't playing with consistent teammates, which we actually can grow together and improve our skill and have a good communication in game in order to succeed. And what happens is that I wasn't actually able to progress, and this was one of the main caveats that actually ruined part of the fun for me as a player who didn't play with regular buddies. Now, I don't see why Valorant will be different from Overwatch in that aspect. So finding friends ahead of time to play with, I think is going to be a good choice, and something I plan to do myself because I don't want to get the same Overwatch experience that I had playing rank, because eventually, there's the skins that you get, but if you don't progress in rank, you always stay in the same spot. After some time, you get bored with it because part of the fun is in this game is just it's progressing and getting better and trying to get to a higher rank. And of course, you also get more experience and stuff, so you can unlock things faster, from what I can see. Anyway, the important thing is that if you find friends to play with regularly, this is a great advantage in the game. Now, the thing is that every mistake can actually kill you in this game. So if you, for example, choose a weapon you are not comfortable with, if you are positioning yourself wrongly, if you make sound, if you decide to just go in a random location without paying attention to which type of players you are actually playing with and the role, which is your role when you should be located in order to help your team. There's so many things that can actually go wrong here, and in this game you're gonna get punished and very hard for any mistake you make. Now, of course, when you start, it will be more forgiving because you're gonna play with against low-ranked players, which actually gonna miss lots of shots, maybe like you, if you're not that good, like myself. So you're gonna find yourself kind of, hanging along. You can get some kills. You can even go in the wrong direction and do mistakes, and you eventually win the round. But as you progress in this game, as you rank up, you're gonna find yourself against more talented players, and it will be much harder for you to actually win a match. Now, another thing that I noticed is that a single match, can be quite long. And each match consists of 24 rounds, half with your attack, half with your defense. And although each round is relatively quickly, eventually you find yourself spending quite some time in each match. And of course, losing a match is not something that you actually enjoy. Nobody enjoys losing. So this is something that you need to, for example, when you are in a situation where you are like 8-1, you actually need to be mentally in a situation where you are thinking about winning a match rather than not losing a match. So I'm sure there will be people who will either rage quit or will want to a match to finish because the enemy is already leading, like in this 8-1, 9-1, 9-2, and you think to myself, there's no way we're gonna win this. But this is actually the worst approach which you can actually take when you play this type of games. In fact, one of the great things of being a good player, in my opinion, is being able to sustain this I want to win feeling when you're actually in a very big disadvantage. These are actually the best even moment in esports because I enjoy seeing this type of games in esport tournaments. So it's really cool seeing enemy that has it looks like they have no chance to win a match, and eventually they were able to win. So developing this mental approach is something that you need to have in this game, I think. I mean, from the little amount that I played, I felt that it's important, and I didn't even care whatever the score is. I was actually taking each match as like a winning match for me. So I didn't even care if the enemy is actually leading or if we are leading. What's important is to win a single match each time. And the thing is that if you don't go with this approach, I think eventually we'll be so frustrated. So this is why I think it's good to adapt this type of approach. I think for some it won't be easy, but I was actually playing with this type of approach and I didn't feel bad or frustrated. I just always try to think about what other things I need to do in order to win, what were my mistakes, what are other teammates' mistakes, and learn from it. Now it's important to keep in mind that, and I've seen this very, very clearly when I played this game for the first time yesterday, is that you need to have a lot of experience in order to master this game. And this means when you get into this game and you're not familiar with CSGO, this type of strategic competitive gameplay style, you're gonna have quite a bad time. So ego aside and other things aside, you need to make sure that you are actually trying to play your best, but always see your faults and try to learn from your mistakes. Many, compared to other type of first-person shooters, more casual ones, this will be, again, will be more punishing, and you find yourself in a very bad situation, and you're going to be probably frustrated and then maybe a lot of time kind of in a denial state because you're not getting this positive feedback. You're going to blame anything but yourself maybe sometimes, but again, always be true to yourself if we want to succeed in this game, because you get better only if you learn from your mistakes, but also from your teammates' mistakes and enemies' mistakes, but you're going to learn from mistakes, and this is what will make you a great player eventually. Now, although getting intel in this game is even more important than actually your aiming or your fast shooting response, it's important to practice your aiming. Now, I'm actually not good at this, but of course I'm practicing in order to get better. The good thing is there's a practice range where you can actually practice your aiming in this game. Not just the aiming, you can also try the different abilities, the different guns. So you get everything to try out, and you can get ready before you actually go into a real competitive match. So as you can see here, there's a shooting range where you can just start playing, and you need to take down those enemies very, very quickly because they just spawn and disappear. And there are different types of options to play around with. But the goal is to improve your accuracy, response time, and there's also a way to balance the different settings, the mouse sensitivity, and this actually was really helpful for me. Now, what I try to do is check how actually I can lock on the enemy's head very, very quickly. And I found out that the way that I move the mouse and alongside the default sensitivity, I was way off. So actually missing so much shots because you have kind of response when you actually move the mouse when you see enemy certain location, and I think this is something individual. So if you see that there's a kind of an offset where you actually missing a certain amount, so what I did was actually changing the sensitivity, and I was able to aim much better, and I was quite surprised how significant it was. So just tweaking this made a huge significance in the accuracy of my shooting. Just this one, and I was quite shocked, to be honest, because this is actually the first time which I'm playing around with these settings. Usually I just make sure that it's not too fast or not too slow when I play other games, but I really don't pay attention too much to this. And you can see you can actually shoot things here near the board instead of just going to the settings and changing this, and this makes things much, much easier, and you can fine-tune your shooting and become even a better shooter instantly by just playing around with those settings. Pretty cool. Now this game, I think, more than any other game that I played, I feel more important to become a better player. And I know that the one way for me to really enjoy this game is make sure that I do whatever I can to become a better player. And this means not just improving my gameplay style and accuracy and all this stuff, but of course making sure that I find players to play with, I communicate well, I learn the map, I learn the weak spots, I find different unique strategies and different type of ways to use my abilities of different agents in order to counter other players' agents. I need to learn how to play probably all the agents, so I can, if there is a meta, and there will be a meta because player will choose different type of heroes and certain maps, I need to know how to counter those as well. So what I'm trying to tell you is that unlike some other first-person shooter that I've played, this requires kind of a degree in order to really get good at this game. You really need to make your homework very, very well to good grades when you actually play against a good team. Now, usually when I played first-person shooters, I just go and just have fun. I don't care about anything really special. I choose a game that have relatively fast gameplay sessions, so I can play. I go out, play again. If I lose, never mind. I'm going to win the second game. So this is usually what I'm used to. But this one is different. And I'm pretty sure there will be some players who will be punished so badly because they don't want to take this route, and eventually maybe they'll just stop playing and go back to play Overwatch or other type of maybe Fortnite or other type of games. So this is actually a game where I'm going to sit down and analyze every single mistake that I make. Because if I'm not going to learn from it, I'm not just going to ruin my fun in the game, I'm going to ruin the success of my team, and eventually I won't be able to enjoy it for a long time. Now again, this is all comes from a new player. I didn't play CSGO, I don't have experience in this type of games, but a few hours in this game, I already know what's important, what's less important, when to focus my time on, and I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to improve and become a better player in this game. I'm sure it's not going to be easy. They're going to be very tough times, and I'm sure I'm going to come across some toxic players who will make their experience not that fun, but I'm willing to understand that this is what will happen, and people sometimes need to project their negativity outside to other players, and this is how it is. But the thing is that I don't want it to prevent me from actually progressing in the game and getting to a situation where I can actually play with good players who are very experienced, and maybe there it will be more people will understand, and instead of just being toxic, they will get into the state of mind of, okay, what we need to do to make things work better. Now, it's not that, I know experienced players don't have their frustration, but again, when you get to a point where you can actually play with experienced players, you already are an experienced player. And the thing is that I saw pros playing in stream, and they communicate a lot, and they understand that mistakes can be made, but they are in a situation that they always trying to learn from their mistakes. They always talk like this, and I really enjoyed when I heard it watching Valorant streams on Twitch. So Valorant is definitely something different, and if you're a new player who haven't played CSGO and you play like Battlefield, Fortnite, or Overwatch, and you're coming to this game, I think these are a few things that you need to be aware of. But of course, there's something maybe that I didn't mention, I didn't thought of, and I might add them in a later video. But these are the things that I think that are very important. And again, just come in a different state of mind, and don't get angry. Always try to learn and get better, and eventually you will be able to become a better player and even enjoy this game even better. So these are the impressions from the beta that I take with me, and I'm very excited to go back and play this game. I'm going to be punished a lot, I'm going to die a lot. Some people are going to say bad things about me, but eventually I will learn and become a better player. And the goal is to become a better player for me, and that's what I'm going to do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you want to get to the beta, there's information on Riot website, but essentially what you need to do is to connect your Riot account to Twitch and watch at least 2 hours of streaming videos or Valorant, those with drops enabled. From what I know, all of those Valorant streams have a drop enabled, so make sure you are on those specific streams. And then this is just something that probably initiated on Riot's web side, so just watch and hopefully you'll get it and you can enjoy the game and have fun. That's it. I'll see you in the next video. More videos of Valorant beta, closed beta is coming, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye everyone, cheers.